Hello again, I'm Vert, the marketing lead for Cobblemon. For this devlog, we'd like to provide you a bit of insight into the ideation process within our team. In addition to looking at all of your suggestions in our feedback forum, we hold regular design meetings to discuss new additions to the mod. In one of those meetings, we came up with the idea that type gems could grow similar to amethyst clusters, but we had issues making it feel like a unique mechanic once we saw it in game. Another meeting was needed to discuss alternative ideas. What follows is that 2.5-hour meeting cut down into a couple of minutes.
So I believe the conversation is changing how type gems look and function. We have it right now. They're currently working like they're amethysts. There has been a new idea that has popped up that suggests that we make them work and look more like dripstone.
So this comes down to another benefit for builder impact. So since all these crystals would share the same mechanic of how the pointed dripstone works in the creative player's hand, where you can put it down on the ground and then keep stacking onto it to make it taller, to build a nice looking little spire. Another crazy pitch that I was thinking on this one is, since these all are the same crystal, allowing all of them to be built together to allow players to create those gradients in that crystal if they so desire. I will dip and let Hero say his piece.
I have a feeling that the rendering code for dripstones is really complicated, because that way they're like detects what's underneath it and what's above it and determines the thickness and renders differently. That, I have no conception of how they did that, which usually means it's really complicated. So if we can avoid doing that, it might expedite the feature substantially.
After considering the type gems as dripstone, Vera, our art director, put forward a different idea. She suggested that the gems should grow from a single core block into a cluster shape. The team wasn't immediately convinced, but the idea was fleshed out further.
I'm going to let Hero speak real fast.
The only thing I'll say on this issue is I think it looked really cool. That's my main point. I don't think it gets much more complicated to code. I think it just gets more complicated with
I will say it does get more complicated with world generation, because we'll probably have to add our own configured feature for it.
My most naive thought around it is it would be vaguely more annoying to farm. It would just make it more inefficient to farm reliably. Because if you put it in silos, then you basically lock in which direction it grows, and then you could make it more predictable. It just restricts the space you can work with. But
I also think that could actually help in reducing the cost of TMs. It might actually be seen as a positive thing.
That's a good point, yeah.
Slippy, you were playing around with the type gems and generating calcite around them, because we've never actually had something to generate around the type gems that actually look good, right?
No.
So that's another problem this thing solves.
If we're worried about like a block appearing out of thin air, we could just have like the core generate a bud, and the bud turns into a block, and then it generates more buds in certain directions, and then those buds can mature into blocks with buds, and kind of do it that way. That way it doesn't feel like a block is necessarily coming out of thin air.
Good meeting, you guys. We came up with something unique, I think, and interesting.